All right, you there, man?
Yeah, I'm here.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being prompt. I wasn't ready, but we'll make it work anyways.
No worries, man.
So how's your day so far?
It's been a long day of interviews. Same old.
Yeah, it's the consequences of being a musician where you have to promote yourself, right?
Yeah, I love my job, so it doesn't matter.
Well, that's good. We love that you love your job. Now, it's been 4 years since the reformation of the band, at least when it was announced, and that there was going to be a new CD in the works. It's finally ready to be released. On obviously 4 years, this was not a rushed project, I take it.
Well, no. I think we're all kind of perfectionists, and we were really wanting to make sure this was perfect, and I don't think it's perfect, but I'm very, very happy with the end result.
Well, very cool. Yeah, there's been a lot of expectations in it, and I mean, how many times did you guys have to go back to the drawing board? I mean, you say you're perfectionists. I mean, there was a lot that was... I mean, how many songs were actually written for this and what made the final cut?
Well, I think we have 3 left over that didn't make it, that are going to be on the next one, and there's definitely going to be a next one.
Awesome. Well, that's good to know. At least you guys are planning ahead for the future.
Yeah, I mean, the most horrible part was having to put that goddamn C-clamp on my scrotum, because I had to do that to sing that high again.
Yeah, I was wondering how much of that was going to actually come out in the CD. The first single, of course, was released today, which is a fantastic song, man. Just totally digging that.
Well, so obviously, I can still sing high. But,
right.
I think you get the joke.
No, I get the joke, absolutely. And, of course, that was always the question, is whether or not there was going to be that and how much of it you could actually take.
There's more than just that song, so
yeah,
that's not just it.
Okay, so if this is a reflection of what we can expect, all is good. What else can fans hope to expect? I mean, we haven't heard the whole album, heard the one song, and they're setting up interviews, and I'm like, well, it's kind of... This is the new game they like to play, so we're going to let you tell us all about it without me having know anything about it. It's a blank page except for this one song.
Jesus, this is the difference between European interviews and American interviews. Everyone in Europe has heard the whole damn thing, and
why is that?
I wish you could have heard the whole damn thing too, but I guess all politics and whatever. But what you can expect is an extension of Into the Mirror Black. It is a natural progression from Into the Mirror Black, just like Refuge Denied and Into the Mirror Black was a natural progression from that. This is a natural progression from Into the Mirror Black, and it pretty much sounds like it could have come out from that era, even though it's decades later, which is weird for me. But I don't think that there's going to be any old fan that's going to be disappointed with this. And if the lead-off track is any indication, it's not the best song on the record.
Oh, really?
No, it really isn't. But it is a good... I mean, we really structured it carefully, so it's a good indication of what the record is going to sound like.
Cool, very cool. So, if it's not the best, and you're saving the best for later, I mean, obviously, first impressions for some people, it's a pretty damn good first impression, as far as I'm concerned. So, if that's not the best, then I've got some seriously high expectations for this CD. Are you guys planning on doing a video or something like for another single, or?
Yeah, we're doing a video next week. We're going to Germany, and we're headlining a festival there, it's a rock festival, and we're going to do a video for the song called Frozen that you have not heard yet.
Right.
I really wish you could hear the whole thing before we're doing an interview, but yeah, how this business works.
Well, I mean, hopefully maybe the publicist, the record label will get the message, and we'll change that. This isn't the first time that this has happened. It's been kind of a new thing with Century Media. I've gotten a few interviews now where they don't let us hear the album before, and I'm like, well, it's kind of hard to formulate questions about the album when you haven't heard the album.
Well, I think they're being really protective about this and making sure it doesn't leak, and I'm really happy about that as well, because, you know, at this point, most musicians, the only way they make money is from touring and bringing merchandise, and I'm glad that the whole thing hasn't leaked on one level. I do wish that they would have let...
Right. No, I understand the reasons behind it. There should be some way to work around it. I don't know, some kind of a listening party or something where they can't, I don't know, search people before they come in, so there's no hidden recorders or something, you know. Something's getting, you know, should be able to be worked out, but I understand.
Century Media is totally behind this, and I couldn't be happier with them. I couldn't be happier with the record. I couldn't be happier with my band. I'm a happy guy right now.
Well, that's awesome, man. It doesn't always reflect in your music, you know. I write pressing lyrics, but no, I'm happy right now. Now, you've been praised for your lyric writing abilities. How is it that you formulate ideas for? Let's just talk this album. For this album, how did you formulate ideas, and what sort of subject matters are you tackling on this? The cat's coming out of the bag right now. Here we go.
It's a concept record. It's kind of similar to Nevermore record, Dreaming Neon Black. It's kind of a sister or brother record, I guess you could say. That, in respect that it is, well, when you read the lyrics, when you read the quotations in between the lyrics, I kind of did the same thing that I did with Dreaming Neon Black. It's a concept record.
Very cool.
Story about a prophet named Lenore. This is in the future, and she's predicting the end of the world. She's a death prophet, and I'm going to unfold the story slowly because I don't want to really give everything away right now.
All right.
But I'm actually trying to write a novel about it.
Ooh.
So we'll see what happens. I mean, I don't know if that's going to happen, actually, but...
Well, that's cool, man. I mean, that's concept albums are not something to take on for just, you know, beginners or novices. I mean, it's something that definitely requires a lot of time and thought, I mean, to piece everything together and find out where you're going with it. So I do commend you on that. I mean, that's an awesome feat there.
Yeah. When you hear the whole thing, you'll get it, I think.
Cool. Definitely looking forward to that. Definitely.
I'm just kind of... I just wish everybody I was talking to today has heard the whole thing, because I'm so proud of it, and it turned out so freaking good. And the one song that you've heard online is good. It's the lead-off track, but
right.
The whole record as a piece, as a conceptual piece, has really blown my mind. And I think it's going to blow everybody's mind when they hear the whole thing.
Right. I'm sure. And of course, it gets kind of touchy when it comes to like comparisons for some artists, and I was wondering how that was going to work out, and you just pretty much answered it saying that it's kind of like a sister album to Dreaming Neon Black. So yeah, I was wondering if there was going to be Nevermore comparisons, or if you're trying to stay away from that sound, or if you're trying to strictly go with Sanctuary, or how that might work out. But obviously you have no worries.
Well, no, for me, being compared to Nevermore, come on, I have no problem with that. Obviously, that's going to happen because I'm the singer in both bands. But I think this record sounds completely different. And I guess it's got to be for your ears when you hear it. So I don't have a problem with anyone saying it sounds like Nevermore, because obviously it does a little bit, because I'm the singer, and obviously it sounds like Sanctuary because there's some really high-pitched screaming. So it is what it is, and we'll see what happens.
It's a little blend of everything, a reflection of... I mean, obviously you can't go back in time and just recapture that particular sound. You've evolved, you've grown, past that, and all the stuff that you've done with Nevermore is going to, you know, reflect as well. So I mean, I don't think it's anything to stay away from.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, so great, fantastic. Now, while this is a new beginning for the band, and in so many ways, I mean, it took 18 years. You guys had been broken up and you reunited. That's something right there. It's a feat in itself. I mean, not very many bands get back together after 18 years.
Well, you know, we've always still been friends since the breakup happened, and
that's
a lot
cool.
of people are asking me, well, did you just get Sanctuary back together because Nevermore broke up? No, that's not what happened. And Nevermore didn't break up. Two guys quit. And that door is actually still open, and we'll see what happens. But with this, we just decided, you know, we wanted to make music again.
Right.
And, oh man, I wish you could hear the whole record. I really do, because I'm so damn proud of it.
I'm sure it's fantastic, man. I don't think there's been anything that you've put out that I haven't enjoyed, including your solo album, and was wondering if there's ever a possibility of you maybe doing something more. I thought maybe after Nevermore that you would just do another solo album.
Yes, there is going to be another solo record. I'm already working on that. It's going to be a cover record, kind of in the fashion of Johnny Cash, what he did with American songs. And I'm picking mainly 90s kind of goth metal songs. The first pick was Barrel of a Gun, Depeche Mode, Dear God by XTC.
Right.
And now, when I go after cover songs, I go after the lyrics, because I'm a lyric writer. And it's going to be a great record. I know that much.
Right. I'm sure with that covering the XTC song, that'll cause lots of controversy in that one. That was a pretty bold statement for them to put out back then.
That's a great song, though.
Yeah. I totally hear you doing it for sure.
That's what I'm doing next.
Cool.
And after that, but this Sanctuary is my focus for sure. It is absolutely my focus.
Well, cool. Lots of good stuff coming in Sanctuary, and you said the Nevermore door is still open, so people will be excited. At least gives the fans hope in that one.
Yeah.
You know, and then a solo project. At least you stay busy. And I understand, I mean, a band breaks up. If you're a vocalist or you're a musician, you can't just sit around and say, gee, what should I do now? Go get a job and work retail? Or, you know, I mean, whatever you do, you still got to keep that passion alive and continue to do stuff. So, yeah, I totally see
Jim Shepard just got a job at the Twin Peaks Cafe up here in North Bend, Washington, so that's what he's doing right now.
Now, that's got to be kind of weird, you know. I mean, I understand, you know. I mean, I work a regular job, too, and, you know, I don't get paid for this stuff. I do it because I love the music, I love the bands. But, you know, I mean, for you guys, I mean, how often, you know, like somebody's going to show up, hey, you're, you know, from the band, you know, and I wonder if does that interfere with work, you know?
Well, it can, if you let it. You kind of have to, you know, learn how to approach that.
Right. Yeah, that's I've always wondered about that, you know, how that might fare out. But I guess you guys are used to that in some ways, you know. I mean, just being recognized in different circles, and you know, that you travel in. I mean, fame's not something that's. I mean, I don't think it's gone to your heads in the slightest. But it's interesting how there's different bands, you know, and I bring this up. This is off the top of my head. I'm hearing about, you know, these ridiculous demands of certain bands this summer on their writers and what they're requesting. And, you know, some of these bands have been around for 40, 50 years. And I'm thinking, man, you know, in a lot of ways, I feel like they should almost be playing for free. They've made their millions. They're sitting comfy. And it's kind of gone to their head. I mean, is there ever a fear that, like, if you were to become that you know, high-ranking musician, that it would change who you are? Do you think you'd turn into something else like so many of these other artists have?
God, I hope not. I think that when you get to that level, when you're demanding stuff like that, you just kind of have to sit back and say, hey, I need to be grounded. I need to realize my place
Well, you mentioned a name. I mean, I guess evidently the Scorpions had requested at a festival in Finland for like individual brand new porcelain toilets to be built for them to use. They all wanted Mercedes with chauffeurs and matching uniforms for the day, and they requested that the stage be enlarged, bigger than any other stage that they've had at the festival before. So they raised the ticket prices.
I just saw this video online of this guy from Brazil that was singing Scorpions cover "Still Loving You." Holy crap! This guy is a great singer.
Right on.
I don't know where that came from. I just thought of it.
Get his name, throw it out there, and make him a star.
I don't know. There's a link on my Facebook page if you want to check it out. But dude, this guy is really good.
Very cool. Yeah, I mean, other artists. I mean, I hear stuff like that, and I've had the pleasure of meeting a lot of different bands, in my time, and some are, it's dangerous sometimes when you meet your idols there. I mean, some of them are really cool, and some of them are like, wow.
I want to hear the story about when I met Rob Halford. I almost shit my pants.
Okay.
I was ambushed. Come here, this guy wants to meet you. Yeah, okay. It was at some festival in Holland, and I walked around the corner, and there was my idol standing in front of me, and I totally freaked out. As anyone would if they met their idol.
Were you left speechless? Or did you just have everything to say?
Kind of, yeah, dude. It was like I didn't know what to say. I was just like, and then I wanted to kill my bass player later because he's the one that orchestrated the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
After it was done, I'm like, dude, I'm going to fucking kill him. You're an asshole. You should have told me before this happened because you don't meet your idol. What would you do if you met Steve Harris? I probably would have done the same thing you did. I probably would have turned into a wide hit.
Yeah. And mine was Ronnie James Dio. He was actually my first interview. I was nervous as hell, and I had like 2 or 3 pages of questions to ask him, and he was actually the kindest, most genuine person I've ever met. He actually spent an hour and a half talking to me, longer than anybody else. He pushed off other interviews just so he could finish answering the questions. He could tell that I was a true fan, and I was forever blessed by that.
So correct, because I've met Dio, and he was the nicest person you could ever meet.
Yeah.
And God, too bad that he's gone. But
I know. I miss that guy.
Legends die every day.
Mm-hmm. Now, like I was saying, this is a new beginning for the band. It's likely to be the first time that many have ever even heard of the band. And this is, coming off this album, it's no doubt going to generate an entirely new fan base for the band. I mean, how are you feeling about that? I mean, getting it out there and opening those doors.
Well, the weird thing is that when Sanctuary first broke up and Nevermore came into existence, we definitely captured the old Sanctuary audience. And now I think we're going to capture the old Nevermore audience, the same kind of rebirth or reinvention or whatever the hell you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
Because there were kids back then that were getting into the band because of Sanctuary. Now it looks like, just from talking to people, there's kids now who are getting into the band that didn't know about Nevermore. So it's kind of, everything's coming full circle. It's weird. It's weird, surreal, and yeah, my life doesn't suck right now. It's kind of cool.
Very cool, man. Very cool. I got one last question for you. I'll let you go. Sure you have, I don't know how many more interviews you got, but I don't want to hold you up on those. What are the touring plans for the band looking like at this point once the album's released?
Well, we do the record release show on November 14th in Seattle, and then we're doing a short West Coast thing, and the record hasn't been released yet. We're still working on all the touring plans. So that's the only tour that we have.
Okay. Are you playing a Southern California date? If you are, I'm there, man.
Okay, well, I think, I think it's on our Facebook page right now. I think it just went up. I don't know all the dates off my head, but of course we're playing. I think we're playing Anaheim.
Okay, we'll definitely look into that one for sure.
That's close. Is it called The Grove?
Oh yeah, it's a great place actually. Seen quite a few bands there. Just saw Primal Fear there a few months back.
Yeah, oh, I love Primal Fear. Yeah, we're playing there.
Awesome, man. Very much looking forward to it. Looking forward to the new album. Sorry I haven't had a chance to hear it, but I'm sure it's going to be fantastic. And hopefully we'll get a chance to chat again somewhere down the line, and we'll talk more in depth about the album and this concept and the individual songs and the stories behind them. And it'll be good.
Man. Hey, it's been great talking to you.
You too, Warrel. You have a good one, man.
Oh, you too, man.
All right. Bye.